Good afternoon, everybody. This is Erica from Austin, Texas. It is in the afternoon here. I wanted to just come in and talk about something that's really important that most people do not have a good handle on. It is basically how we eat, right? So, a lot of us don't understand what it means to be full, what it means to be hungry, or if we do, we just ignore it. So I want to talk a little bit about intuitive eating today and what that means and the difference, the scale that we can look at to try to start that whole process of how to know when we're hungry and when we're full. So the very first thing I want to talk about in terms of tip number one with intuitive eating is going to be water. So many things come down to water. Most of us are severely dehydrated because we're so busy doing things, or we don't like the taste of water. There's numerous reasons. We just get really busy. I used to drink water much better when I worked in an office atmosphere because I had it right next to me all the time. But now that I'm at home and I'm walking around and doing things here and there, I have various water bottles throughout the house just so I can remember to drink. So it's definitely a challenge even for me sometimes, depending on the day. But in terms of the tip for intuitive eating, you want to make sure you're not thirsty first because oftentimes hunger is disguised as being thirsty or dehydrated. Okay, so if you feel like you're thirsty, then you already are dehydrated. So, in order for you to combat this, is you can also tell by looking at your urine output. So, if your urine is discolored, so you can see yellow at all, you could drink more water. It's preferably that it's as clear as possible, but the more yellow it is, the more dehydrated you are. So if you didn't know that, that is tip number one. So try to drink water first to make sure that's not the issue. The tip that I also do too, especially if people who are trying to lose weight, is to add like a soluble fiber powder to your water. So again, you're getting enough fiber to kind of help that digestive tract going, but it also gives you a sense of fullness because you're adding fiber to your diet, right? So it starts to expand into your stomach so you're not as hungry. So this is a really good way to combat some of that hungriness, especially if you're not actually hungry, because at this point, a lot of people don't know that. And then the next thing you need to learn is how to distinguish between emotional hunger and physical hunger. They're both very different things. So, for example, emotional hunger comes on very fast. This is something like, impromptu hunger. And you don't get much of a warning because it just happens. You're like, oh my God, I really need to eat that piece of cheesecake. Or I'm really craving a pretzel right now. Or I really need, this bag of potato chips. It just came out of like left field. That is driven by some sort of emotion that you had, something that you were thinking about. Remember, thinking brings up feelings, which brings up emotions, and then that in turn gives you the action that you're going to do. So those things are very important. So controlling the thoughts is a really important thing to do, but that's a whole nother conversation. Um, and then physical hunger is obviously the easiest part. Physical hunger. You are actually hungry or you're actually full. Okay. So physical hunger comes on slowly. This is when you start to have this twinge in your stomach and you feel, slightly empty stomach. And if you ignore it, it gets a little bit more grumbly and a little bit more of that empty kind of feeling. And if it's been a while since your last meal, then it's probably physical hunger and not actual emotional hunger. Okay. So then, number three, I want you to listen to your Sadie cues by using a hunger scale. So I'm going to talk about the hunger scale in detail. Hopefully you're on. Let me just make sure no one's on live. You can write this down, or actually I can post it in the comments below to make sure you can see what your hunger scale is. So you can start working on that at home, especially with all of the holidays that are coming up and all the food and the cold weather, which makes us hibernate and want to eat nothing but garbage. Okay, so let's talk about that hunger scale. So a good way, tip before we do the hunger scale is when you are eating, try to put down those utensils between each bite to make sure you enjoy your food and you're not rushing through the whole experience. The faster you eat, the more your brain and stomach does not have time to process the fact that you actually ate. And if you're watching TV, then you're totally disconnected from your food process, right? We need to be in touch with what we're eating and why we're eating it, how it tastes, how it feels, eating it slowly. That's another way to start getting that connection between your brain and your food on the right track versus mindlessly eating in front of a TV or in front of your computer screen while you're at work. Okay, so you're going to want to step away and just start doing those couple things. Put the fork down, chew like 20 times. I know it seems crazy at first, but if you're having a real problem with it, it's highly suggested and recommended by me and many other professionals in my field. And then just to really enjoy your food or drink too, right? So now let's talk about the hunger scale in terms of what each scale means. So we're starting from a 1 to 10 scale, and the hunger scale would be 10 is you're super stuffed. You're so full that you are physically ill or sick. Okay? Who has been there? I have been there numerous times. I have a serious, not anymore, but I have a serious problem with buffets. I will eat or would eat until I was sick and my stomach was just out, had to unbutton my pants all the time. It was crazy. And then I would feel like crap for like 3 hours after I got home. And this would happen all the time. That's a whole nother issue, right? I did get over that. So let's go on to number 9, but I'm sure the rest of you have been there too. Number 9, very uncomfortable and you're full and your clothes feel tight. Okay, number 8, you're uncomfortable, but you're full, but you feel bloated. So we're getting a little bit lower, right? So we're not quite so uncomfortable. Number 7 is full. You feel a little bit uncomfortable. Number 6, you're completely satisfied. You feel satisfied, nourished, and a little full. Okay, and number 5 is comfortable again. You're satisfied, but you're neither full nor hungry. So you're at that neutral stance. Okay, so this is where you want to stop that eating between 5 and 6. Comfortably satisfied. Either a little full or you're kind of neutral and you can't tell whether you're full or hungry. And then you're getting to number 4. You're getting a little hungry. Number 3, you're pretty hungry and your stomach starts to growl. Number 2, you're very hungry, low energy, and you are hangry. Who's been there? Me again. Hangry. Especially women. I've had conversations with men, and men seem to get less hangry than we do, and they laugh at us. So people make fun of us when we are hangry. And it's a real thing, guys. It's a real thing. We get hangry. Now, there's other underlying issues that are a reason why we are hangry, but again, this is not the topic for today, but it also has to do with what we eat and how we eat it. And number 1 is you are starving, which means you are weak or dizzy. I've also been there. So you do not want to be in those stages because what happens is your blood sugar has dropped so low and your resistance has dropped so low, you are going to eat anything in front of you. There is no willpower. There is nothing that's going to stop you from eating the entire house or an entire bag of potato chips because you've lost all. Hey, Yoke, how you doing? Thanks for joining me. You have lost all ability to control yourself. So again, you want to be within this one, a 4 or a 3, where you're a little bit hungry or your stomach is starting to growl, and then you need to get that food in your body ASAP. If you let it get farther along, your resistance is going to be at like 0. Okay, and this is where people get into trouble, especially when you're working. So when I was in the clinic, this was very hard for me, but I had to have food that was easily accessible, that I could quick stuff in my face so I would not get so worn out and hangry and weak by the time my actual lunch came around, because we were always so busy transferring patients that were like 150 pounds and etc., and running from patient to patient. So I understand where that is, but this is also very important when you have more control over it. Make sure you have a handful of like carrots or almonds or even yogurt. Okay, I'm not a big dairy proponent depending on what's going on, but it has a lot of protein in it, so that's something that's easy to grab. Okay, so the key here is not to deny yourself, which is why we do not want to get to 1 or 2, because it will just make our desire stronger and our guilt more intense. Okay, our guilt gets more intense when we give in to what we eat. And this is trap number one. So we want to get rid of that guilt that we have. Nobody wants to feel guilt all the time. So we need to look at our intuitive eating scale and make sure you don't let yourself get there. Okay. And then if you are overweight and having issues with food, stop whatever you're doing or plan ahead and make sure, again, you have that healthy snack for when you first feel those signs of hunger so you're more successful, or make sure you have water with some fiber powder in there if there's no other alternative. But you want to make sure that you are getting that snack when you feel that slight hunger if you know you can have a meal within 30 to 60 minutes. So again, it takes a little bit of planning, but it doesn't take enough planning to where, because you do want to feel that way, right? Who wants to feel so hungry and so out of control mentally that they can't control their food choices, right? So this is why I wanted to pop in today and just talk about a little bit about intuitive eating. I will post the hunger scale down below in the comments so you have a reference to what I'm talking about. Super important. So if you do try to do this in the next couple of weeks, let me know how that feels and any thoughts that come up when you do this, or any aha moments. And also, if you are a woman 40 or older, it'd be great to have you come into my private Facebook group, which is also listed in the comments. And I'm also having a 5-day free weight loss challenge that I'm very excited to roll out. And that's going to be on November 16th. So that's just in like a week and a half, I believe. So you can also sign up for that. If you have any questions, drop your comments below and have a wonderful evening and happy eating.